next concept in our pipelines. Let me go ahead and create a new pipeline here. Okay. This time is classic editor. This time, I mean, so far we are using Azure Repos code base, right? But as I told in earlier sessions, you can also see what happens. Azure DevOps is a new concept or a new platform. I would say it's not even more than 3 years, right? It released in September 2019. People started using, from 2020 onwards. Okay, so your organization definitely or might be having code bases in the public GitHub. I mean GitHub as well. Okay, and your development teams don't want to move to Azure Repos for code management. They want to continue with the GitHub. Okay, and your management is also okay. They wanted to slowly migrate from GitHub to Azure Repos, but you need to continue, right? So management took a decision. Okay, let the developers continue to use the code management tool GitHub, but let's have the pipelines, I mean build pipeline, release pipeline in Azure DevOps. In those scenarios this will work. So you can take the code from GitHub and then deploy to your deploy build and deploy using your release build and release pipelines. So I selected this one, and then you need to give the connection, right? You need to allow this. I mean GitHub should be allowing your build and release pipeline to access the code, right? So you need to authorize it. Okay, so first go and see GitHub, right? You should have a GitHub account for this. Okay, so, guys, I already logged in. That's why it is showing. Let's sign out. So this is how you see it, right? So if you are a new user, you can sign it with your Gmail ID or your organization ID. Okay. Okay. And the way you manage developers manage their code, they will manage here as well. So there will be repos like this, and they will go and deploy their code. Okay, so this time I'm not doing any coding here, right? What I did, I went ahead and selected some available Java projects on the GitHub, because GitHub contains a lot of open source projects basically, and even sample projects, etc. So for this example, using GitHub, I wanted to take some Java application. So I went ahead and did some, I mean, research, and I found, this guy has some project available. So I just forked it. Fork means making a copy of his code into my repository. Basically, you can see. Sorry, guys, let me take some water. Sorry, I'm back. I got cold and cough. Sorry for that. Okay, so basically you can go and search for projects once you log in. I would say you go and say Java, search all of the GitHub. Okay, click on this. There will be n number of things. Okay, I'm not looking into anything. Simply I say I like this one, and then I want to contribute to this project, or I want to experiment on this. Okay, all you need to do is, because you cannot directly work on this one, no one will allow you basically. You can basically make a copy of this one into your own repository. That process is called fork basically. Okay, once you are in any project, you simply click on this fork option here. Okay, say fork. So the moment you said fork, right? Something should have been done. It should have come to my repository basically. Okay, you can see now. Purna K81 fork. It is named as a Java, and it is a public project basically, and forked from algorithms Java. Okay. If I go to my home page, you see this has just come from there basically. Okay, so this is how you can basically fork someone's projects into your repository, and you start exploring it, or you can contributing to that one basically. So this is process is called fork. I fork similarly. I forked this GS Spring Boot project. This is an API basically. Okay, this is an API. Okay, and I'm going to use it in my build pipeline. So let me come to select build pipe. Now you need to authorize it. Authorize using OAuth. Yes, that means you give your user credentials. Okay, guys, it has taken my credentials automatically because I logged in here. Okay, in the session. If you want to change it, you can change it. Okay, once I logged in, it is showing me all my repositories. What you see here, right? Because now I authorized it. You can see it. You have seven Purna K81. How many? You have six, right? You will see all the six here. And I want to take GS Spring Boot. I don't know exactly, but I went ahead with the what do you say description. It is a Java Spring Boot service. This is equivalent to our web API in .NET. So I'm okay with master branch. Continue. This is a Java, right? Okay. For .NET, you are selecting the templates like if it is a class library. For example, for Selenium, you took the .NET Desktop. For web applications, you selected the ASP.NET. So the template configure your build tool and everything, right? Similarly, for Java, the build tool will be Maven. So you need to take a Maven template. If you search for MA, you will get this one. Okay, Maven. For .NET, it is MS Build. For Java, it is Maven or Gradle. There is one more thing, Gradle, etc. Okay, developers will tell you what to be used basically. Because I know Maven, I'm using Maven to build my Java application. Okay, so I mean, let's use Azure Pipelines. Okay, uh, you can build it using any one of these things, right? Specifications. Just for me, I'm taking this, and this is what you selected from the GitHub, right? And then run an agent, and then this is very important. So for .NET, you have the solution file, right? You select the solution file, which will have all the references to your code files. For Java, it is pom.xml. So you need to give the path of the project of your pom XML basically. Right now, this is a edit non-editable because you selected here as a pom XML. You can select from here or you can select from here. Let's go to. So I want to build the application under app folder under .mven means Maven, .gradle means Gradle build tool basically. I'm going with the .mven. This is some sample project. Okay, sorry, not this one. Okay, form. I'm looking for form under app. Okay, I have the form.xml. Select this. There are some other files as well, but select this. Your developers will tell you. Now you see app.pom.xml. So now your pipeline knows where to look for dependencies. So the dependency is in app folder, and there you have pom.xml. Your build pipeline will be able to build it now. The rest of the options will be similar to what you see for your data, but slightly different here. Okay, it include runs on rcube etc here itself. Okay, and then For a .NET, see, I'm not an expert in .NET. Okay, sorry, Java. You have some other options as well. Let us say uh, check style, some PMD, etc., etc. I don't know. I am not an expert, but this is another code analysis tool to find the bugs like SonarQube. But most of the times you will use this SonarQube only. But what you can do, however, you are adding a SonarQube task in the .NET, right? In the same way, you will add it basically here. Okay. So for this example, let me just save it. I'm not explaining the last one because this is similar to your .NET as well, where the artifacts will be copied to your drop folder. If you want to change it, you can change the name of your folder. Okay. Let me build it. So here the scenario is you are taking the code from GitHub rather than your Azure pipeline, and even deployment also. I'm not going to deploy this code to our virtual machines. Okay, I'm going to deploy this one to app service in your Azure cloud. App service is one of the PaaS services in Azure cloud where you can go and deploy your applications without having a servers basically. That means you don't need to uh, create a virtual machine and install the software and then deploy the code basically. All you need to do is create an app service in Azure cloud and mention all your requirements in that app service and then deploy your code basically. So you are not responsible maintenance for the maintenance of your servers because you are using app service. And people may ask you, okay, this is Azure Cloud Administration question. Hey, why do you want to go for app service? Because you do not have a control of what to be there in your servers because you cannot log into the underlying servers, right? When you're using app service. The only question, the benefit here is that scalability of your application. The app service will be scaled based on the load basically. That means right now your app service will be able to serve only 100 requests per minute, but if it is exceeding that one, your app service will automatically scale up. Scale up means it will increase its capacity basically based on configuration what we mentioned. But if it is servers, you need to go and do all these things manually. Probably you need to put that in the load balancer. If the load is increasing, add one more virtual machine to the load balancer. But getting the virtual machine automatically created and getting it up and running, it may take a minimum 5 minutes. But that 5 minutes is a very big time for the end users, right? But if it is app service, it will get uh, upgraded itself in terms of capacity like RAM and CPU in a matter of seconds basically. That is the best example. You are away from maintenance of your servers, and the scalability of application will be taken care by the app service itself. You are not responsible for that. We'll create that app service. Okay, what we do while this build is happening, let's go and create app service. So if you don't know where it is there, you can go and search for app, and then you can see a globe symbol here. Click on this app services. So far we created virtual machine. Let's go and create app service. Create. So select your subscription. Resource group is mandatory. You can create any resource group and give some name for your, whatever the application you are going to deploy, give that name basically. Let's say your, your journeys. So your name is available. So your website name will be yourjourneys.azurewebsites.net if you are deploying into app service basically. And I'm saying, hey, it is asking, how are you going to give me the code? Okay, is it a Docker? Is it a plain code? I say plain code. And what is the runtime stack? Is it a Java application? Is it a .NET application? Is it a PHP application? That's what he's going to ask me. See, .NET, .NET 6.5, .NET Core 3.1, ASP.NET 4.8, okay, and Java, Node.js in different versions, PHP, Python, Ruby, etc. So it supports all these different. I'm sure most of the development happens, either in Java, .NET, PHP, or Node. Ruby is, very older language. Python is also here nowadays for the data science, right? I select Java and my application support Java 8. How do I know? I read the documentation of that project. Okay. Or in your case, in your real time, you need to ask your Java developers. Okay. And Java web server stack. So I'm using embedded web server. I mean, Apache Tom web server means you have IIS in .NET. Right? Similarly, for Java, you have Apache Tomcat or JBoss or standard web server. And is it Unix or Windows? I am building my pipeline with the Windows. I select Windows, and where you want to deploy region, Central US, okay. And app service plan. You can see app service plan. It includes your pricing tiers. Based on the app service plan, your cost will be changing. I mean, this is similar to the VM sizes that you select in VM creation process. So here also you can see, but here it's not like like a CPU, memory, etc. You can everything will be calculated as a ACU. ACUs are the units and the memory. If you want to change it, click on change size. So Azure Cloud will help you to select the sizes as well, because based on the selection of the category or the pricing tier, your cost will change basically. See, it is already telling, hey, if you are using for a development and testing purposes, go to this dev test tab and select the options from here, so that you will have a less cost. If you see, you have some shared infrastructure, means whatever you are going to create, this app service is going to be on some server, right? And that can be utilized by some other organization as well. You don't know basically. This is all this is all not visible to you. Okay, this is free. Okay, and 60 minutes per day is free. And shared infrastructure, if you want to take 1 GB memory and 240 minutes per day, then 683 rupees per month. And if you want to go for a you want to have some good amount of memory, etc., a series, you are paying 3944. Okay, and you have additional tiers as well in dev test labs. So most of the times in the dev and the test environment, you will take the least one. Okay, probably I take a minimum, some 3.5 GB memory. Okay, for my web app app service, basically where I'm going to deploy my web app or API. If you go to the production, similarly, the tiers here are very costly. See, 100 these are the units, basically units of measurement for your pricing tier. 100 total ACU, 210 total ACU, 420 total ACU. You can go and check what is ACU. Okay, and if you see 1.75 GB memory, 3.5 GB memory, 7 GB memory. Okay, based on this, uh, your cost is getting calculated, and it is giving me some other information as well. When your app service is having 100 total ACU and 1.75 GB memory, it is equivalent to the what virtual machine? A series compute equivalent means you have a virtual machines in series, right? D series, B series, A series, etc. If you are selecting S1, that is equivalent to the virtual machine capacity, which falls under category A series. And similarly, D series. If you are selecting P1 V2 category, that means the capacity of this app service of P1 V2 will be equivalent to DV2 series micro, I mean virtual machine. Okay, that's how you can see. If you go higher and higher, you are paying a lot. You see, 17,355 rupees per month. If you go for 195 ACUs and 8 GB memory. Okay, so for so if it is isolated, means if underlying infrastructure is not shared with anyone, then your cost will be even more higher. You see, 29,557 rupees, 59,000, etc., etc. Okay, so this is how you can go and identify which tier you need to go with basically. Okay, again this will be determined by your governance, cloud governance team and cloud governance team will tell, hey, for all the projects, dev test environment should be using this tier. That's it. That's how they define basically. So for demonstration purpose, I'm just using this, additional pricing tiers. Okay. Okay. And this is called as basic B2. Next deployment. Now you understood, right? Whatever we were selecting as part of our virtual machine creation are here basically. Your OS, what code you are going to deploy, what size, etc. But the only thing is this is not a virtual machine. This is a PaaS service for you. You are not worried about maintenance of this one. That's the only thing. Okay, continuous deployment. No, I don't want to deploy using some Git repositories, etc. You can see here. You can directly deploy here as well. Okay, from your GitHub code. You can read it basically. Here also you need to authorize it. I'm disabling it. Next, monitoring. As I told you, I have not been using this monitoring, because if I enable this monitoring, I have to pay extra basically. If you say yes, it will start monitoring your app service as well. Okay, so I'm just saying no. Tax, this is just for as I said earlier, it's for your building and reporting purposes. Review and create. As you see in your virtual machine, this is a preview page. What are all the options is selected, and if you're okay, go ahead and create it. Are you able to relate the virtual machine and app service now? The only difference now, once this resource is created, I will not be able to log into the underlying virtual machines of this resource. What if I want to do anything, I have to do only from the configurations by editing this app service. But if it is virtual machine, let us say I want to install some additional software other than my .NET. If it is a virtual machine, I can go ahead and log into the virtual machine. I can install the software whatever I want. But if it is an app service, you do not have that luxury. Whatever is available as part of your configuration of your app service, only that you can install, and then your application code basically. You cannot do anything else. But it is scalable and less expensive when you compare to cost of your virtual machines. Okay, now it is running. So what is the URL of my app service? You can see here. We go and click this. So this is a welcome page. Okay, since I selected Java, it is showing me, hey, Java developers, your app service is up and running. You can go and deploy your code. That's what it is saying. Okay, and see, for every resource, the left hand side is the properties. Everything looks similar for any service. You just need to, if you explore one for one service, then you feel it easy for any other service basically. Most of them are common. Okay, and I was talking about scale up. Scale up means based on the number of requests that are coming from outside the world, you can scale up your service plan. Let us click on the scale up and scale out. Okay, you can go and select, hey, right now my tier is this one to B2 tier. If the load is increasing more than what I am looking at, then go ahead and increase my app service to B3. That's what I'm saying. If you apply it, what happens, currently it might be taking 200 requests per minute. If it is more than 200, then what your Azure cloud will do, it will upgrade your app service plan from B2 to B3, so that your users will be able to continue to use your application. This is how you configure scale up and scale out. Okay, okay. Again, this is a cloud administration. I'm introducing you to all these concepts, man. Scale up and scale out, etc. Okay, come back. So Now I have this working app service. Now I need to deploy my code, right? So my pipeline is completed, where I have my Java code basically. It is failed. Let me see this, why it is failed. I don't know what is there here. Okay. I selected Sonar Cube, right? But I did not give any connections, etc. Let me, for this demo, let me edit this. I don't want to do that stuff now. So it may take 1 or 2 minutes, right? So what you are doing basically seeing now, you know how to connect to GitHub and take the code and build that using Azure build pipelines here. And for the release pipeline, you are not going to deploy to the virtual machines. You can deploy to the app service as well. And you are seeing what are the different programming languages that your app service will support: Java, .NET, PHP, Node.js, and Ruby, Python. And the advantages of app service are, uh, it is easy to scale up. It will happen in a fraction of seconds or minutes, and you don't need to, you are not responsible maintenance of your underlying server. That means if you are running your servers, you need to patch, you need to maintain antivirus, anti-spam software, and you need to do many admin activities in terms of IP addresses, etc., etc. And you need to create websites in your IAS, all those things. But if you are using app service, it is just a couple of configuration items as part of your app service configuration or creation. While this is going on, if you have any doubts, let me know. It is basically downloading all the libraries that are required from the Maven repository. For .NET, it is a NuGet repository, and for Java, it is a Maven repository. Uh, Kiran Sahul, any doubts?
No, Purna.
Puna, nothing else, no, but I'll go through the recording of yesterday's and today's session and I'll get back to you.
Sure, sure. Yeah, yeah. See, I am introducing to each and every concept uh, in our DevOps platform. We are going in depth basically, but as you know, we cannot cover each and every feature because you have 10 items in a category. So I'll be able to do it one or two, then you have to explore others. But what I do generally, whatever is the mostly used, that's what I choose it basically, because that's what you're going to face it as well in your projects. Less used, I do not touch it because that you can go and explore it. You can see, right, even for these things it is taking, I mean, we already done with 30 hours basically, and we are going to have another 2 weeks to cover other concepts. And then we need to talk about best practices. I mean, that's what while this build and deployment happen in this period, I've been talking about all these scenarios. Why use app service, why use virtual machines, what are the pros and cons if you go with virtual machines, what are the pros and cons if you go with app service. You will not be grilled on these areas when you go for a DevOps engineer position, but you will be grilled on these options: pre-deployment, post-deployment. How do you control the releases? How do you do code quality gates? What is the purpose of this one? How do you connect with that? How do you create profile rules in your Sonar Cube? All these things, basically, because you are controlling your build pipeline and deployment release pipeline for the quality and security compliance, and then putting some governance in the release pipeline as well as to whether you should deploy the code to any stage or not, based on the approvals and pre and post deployment conditions. In most of the projects, you may not see all these configured, but if you go for any product companies or critical applications, right, mission critical applications, I would say your payment gateways, your e-commerce websites, all those websites will go through all these things. Otherwise, they cannot sustain basically. Okay. See, my artifacts is ready. Okay, right. My artifact is under .mvn. This is my artifact jar file. Sorry. So now go to release pipeline. Not sure if I'm here. Okay, go to release pipeline. So let's create a new pipeline, new release pipeline. So now this
Pune,
time,
I'm leaving for the day to
okay,
start.
if you have
You
5 minutes,
can continue.
will be
No issues, I
okay.
can see the video. No problem.
Okay, thanks. Yeah,
No.
just search for Java. You can see deploy a Java app to Azure App Service. Just select it, and then first select the artifact. This is important, right? And this is our online reservation system Maven CI. Add, and in this, just give me a second, guys. Sorry, I'm having some bad cough. Okay. Okay. So uh, in Java, right? If it is a front-end application, you call it as a var. If it is a API, you call it as a jar. Jar is equivalent to DLL in .NET basically. Okay. Var is equivalent to all the HTML content that you will have in .NET. It can be your React with HTML, Angular with HTML, etc., or jQuery with HTML. So those are jar equivalent to DLL, var equivalent to your HTML and React, etc., in .NET. Okay, I'm not going to deploy a var file because I have the API. So I'm going to deploy jar file. So I'm enabling this one. First, start from here. I'm deploying to the app service, right? I need to authorize my release pipeline to connect to my Azure cloud. I have my subscriptions. Select the subscription. Okay, and then select the app type. So I created a web app and Windows platform, right? That is the app service I selected. Select it, and then what is the service name? Your journeys is the app service name I given that I created. I'm done here. This you don't need to worry. This will happen on the Azure pipeline, and deploy to jar. So the connection type is Azure Resource Manager, which you already selected, and this is all grayed out because these are inherited from top app service name itself. And then we need to give the jar file basically. This is what in our .NET you are selecting the .zip file, right? What zip file to be deployed to your IIS. Similarly, you have to select it here. So under drop app and the .mvn, this is the jar file I'm going to deploy. This is a API. Okay, and similarly, similar to what you see in your .NET templates for transforming web.configs, you will see the same thing here: file transform and variable substitution option. So, but there .NET is different, Java is different, right? You are having the same options here: XML transformation, XML variable substitution. We use XML variable substitution. Okay, so these guys will basically use some parameter, resource files, etc. Okay, it's not web.config in Java. They use some resource and property files. You need to give that one. That your developers will tell you. Okay, let me. So we given the connection. We mention the app service name. Simply save it. Create a release. Since it is a manual, you need to click on the deploy. So once this code or the artifacts deployed to your app service, if you refresh it, the content will change. Probably some hello world or something. This let it continue. Guys, if I have to give one more example, you see, this is similar to what you see in GoDaddy or something. If you buy some domain from GoDaddy, right, you can host your application on GoDaddy as well. You can deploy your code. What they do, they give you some FTP folder and you can log into the GoDaddy website and you copy your code into FTP folder and that will be mapped to your GoDaddy website domain basically, because you do not log into any you do not log into any server even in GoDaddy web hosting platform as well. Every web hosting platform will give you FTP folder to copy your code. You can see it is successfully deployed. Probably it is doing some post checks or whatever it is. So it is completed. You can see all the data here, right? Now you can see it is showing the application URL as well. If you want to see the logs, you can go and see these logs in this link. Okay, and let me go ahead and refresh this page. Okay, so it looks like that application is having some error. Okay, whatever I forked, right, from in the GitHub, because I did not create that application, somebody's application. That application is having some issue. That's the reason it is saying the specified CG application encountered an error and the server terminated the process. So there is some error in that application. That's the reason it is giving me an issue. Okay, I can go ahead and find out some other application as well which is working. Okay, but the funda here is that how you are going to take code from GitHub and use your Azure pipelines for building the application and then deploying to a app service rather than into virtual. Those are the concepts I want to explain. But let me check some working solution as well. Okay, so you can see the logs here. I clicked on that one, right? And how do you troubleshoot all these issues? Let us say now you have the issue, right? Your application is not running. How do you troubleshoot those issues? Basically, that's where your health monitoring will come into picture. Let us say you go to uh, I disabled monitoring, right? You need to enable that insights. Okay, there will be application insights. If you go and enable this application insights, it will start monitoring your application and it will give you all the uh, you know you can select Java and apply. This is where it your service will automatically will be monitored and you can see the logs here. But before that I did not enable the logs, monitoring capability. Okay, once you have it, you will be able to troubleshoot and give access to your developers as well. Hey, your service is not running, go ahead and look into these logs. or you provide access to these logs. Okay. Application insights, very important one for any given application or for any given resource in Azure cloud. Guys, that's it from me for today. So we seen deployment gates, and then using GitHub connected with your pipeline and app service to deploy your code. Okay. Any questions before I wrap up?
No, Purna, as of now.
Okay. Thank you, guys.